Towards the beginning of our first video of this series, I talked to you about dimensions. And I wanted to remind you that this is my personal Bible study. Again, I'm not here to exegese this thing. In other words, break it down, compare it to other scriptures, give you some motivational word. The only thing I really want to do for my kids, my grandkids, my brothers and sisters in Kenya, my brothers and sisters in Ghana, my brothers in Bangladesh, my brother in Bangladesh. For those who think I'm a teacher, the only thing I want you to do is see the pattern of the creation. That's what we're working on. We're working on the pattern of creation. The reason why is because this has not been shared with most of us, that there is a pattern, not to survive or be a slave or to be an employee, but to be a creator. And it's, like I said before, it's all through Genesis chapter 1. I'm actually Genesis 1 to all the way up to the fall in 3. But for the most part, Genesis 1 is, I think, the most potent book in this collection of 66 books we call the Bible. King James Version of the Bible. Also, the book, anyway, in other religions as well. In other belief systems. They all say they're of the same religion, but anyway, I don't want to get too complicated about the thing. I think that's kind of part of the problem. The creations, as I said before, if you don't get this part right, in other words, come in with the right perspective, you can be off quite a bit. And the goal is to get you going in the right direction to the best of my ability, where you're not off, and you see yourself as a creator. We are creators, created from the Creator. We are not God individually, but we're in God collectively. So the goal is for you to see yourself the right way. I want to go back to Genesis 1:1. I want to read something to you so that you understand the direction that I'm going and what is and what is not included. It says, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And then verse 2, it says, and the earth was without form and void, and darkness upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters of the earth. So we're not talking about heaven. We're talking about earth. Earth is dirt. He didn't say world, which is a system. It's where things are birthed from. Earth. You have to start with earth. If you're a creator, we start with understanding the power God put into earth. You are of earth. So the power of earth is in you. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness upon the face of the deep. It doesn't mean earth did not exist. it was just an obscure place with no system. God will plant a creator in an obscure place with no system. I know I'm talking type and shadow, but I'm hoping you're catching my motive for redoing Genesis altogether. And I think because I've done Genesis to Revelation, to come back to Genesis and start all over again just gives me a different view, a different perspective of what it means to be a creator. I don't think we see ourselves. We speak the words. I hear churches speaking the words, or groups of people. I'm not talking about buildings. I'm talking about groups of people. Very few move as though they're creators. In our community, for my sons, daughters, students, those who consider me a teacher, we have to take on the modality of being a creator. Practice is over. It may not happen in my lifetime, but God has put us here on this earth, made us from the very earth that he put us here to. And I want you to catch this. Or strike that. I don't want to say it like that. I want this to add value to your life. When he said, and the earth was without form and void, and darkness upon the face of the deep. And this is what he did. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. The Spirit of God moved. The earth was without form. The dirt was without form. It was void, darkness, obscure. Upon the face, he had the Spirit of God move upon the face of the water, face of the deep. I dare say the deep void. See, in life, things are not smooth. There are valleys, there are hills. And I believe when he had the Spirit of God move upon the face of the waters, I believe when he spoke, because God said in verse 3, let there be light, I believe at that point, everything in the water and the earth began to prepare for growth. The reason why I say that is because light brings things out of obscurity. I think because of God's system, the first thing he had to create was light. I think when the Spirit of God moves, I think the Spirit of God moves in wisdom. I don't believe the Spirit of God moves without understanding how to move and when to move. The combination of how and when, I believe, is wisdom. Why is that important? Because out of obscurity, there is light there is water, and it creates life that we haven't gotten to yet in the conversation. We're still having a spiritual conversation. The physicality of what's being created started from the spirit to the soul. As we said before, God gives you a vision to accomplish. It takes work to get it done, but you're equipped to do it. But it starts in the spirit, transfers to the soul, the earth, light, water is interacted or interacts with earth, and there begins a creation process. So let me read it one more time since we're so early in. In the beginning, and we talked about beginning. In the beginning, in the spiritual process, in the beginning of the physical process, but you have to start with the beginning. God created. The word created, he began to fashion and form. Fashion and form. Spiritually. Fashion and form. Shape. He also began to trim, cut down. Create the system of operating. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Now concerning the earth, in verse 2, and the earth was without form and void. So in our creation process, God gives us something that is without form. It's void. Darkness is upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved. So in the creation process, we need God to move over something that is dark, that is off, that is void, without form. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. He didn't address the earth. He addressed the waters. We all know water, well, not all, but for those who don't know, water also represents spirit. Then God said, let there be light. Then God said, let there be light. Let there be something to break obscurity. And in fact, light is separate. Obscurity doesn't go away, but it's separated. He separates light from darkness. In other words, there's always going to be obscurity and darkness. There's always going to be light. There's always going to be work to do. There's always going to be a creation process. Light, darkness, hot, cold. There's some people that don't believe in the nature of hot and cold, light and darkness. in our belief system. It's like denying the male and female sides of God. One needs the other in the creation process. There is no light and darkness in heaven. That's why we can't have this conversation about heaven, where everything has already been determined. So what am I saying? To the people that consider me a teacher, stop trying to get rid of something that will always be. In America right now, there's this debate over light and darkness in our political structure. And a lot of people believe that the current political structure is dark. And some believe in this particular president that's been elected in 2024 for 2025 is going to bring some sort of light to the darkness. The only person that can bring light to darkness is that who's filled with the Spirit. The one who's filled with the Spirit. That's why I'm showing you, I'm trying to go over 1, 2, 3, and touching on 4. Genesis 1, verse 1, 2, 3, and 4, to show you that process, because we can't begin to talk about the differences of light and dark until you understand how to recognize light and dark. As a creator, your job as a creator, because if you're listening to this, you are a creator. Your job as a creator is to take on the patterns of God in your creation. It's the only thing to create. It's the only way to create something that is of God. You can't get rid of darkness, but to be effective as a creator, you have to have the ability to speak life, light, to get darkness to move. If you're not speaking light, then you're not representing God. You're representing the darkness. So I don't want you to be deceived. The pattern stays, and it has been since the beginning of time. In heaven there is no time. This method of thinking has been given to us for the purpose of creating. CashApp $TheMrPaulDozier or Zelle, paulcdozier@gmail.com. Thank you for taking this journey with us, or taking this journey with me. Peace be with you.